ChatGPT, is the AI taking over? Well, it at least thinks it has the 10 best paint schemes of all time. Joe's going to let us know his favorite NASCAR video game. And unfortunately, Bubba Wallace plays the professional victim again on this week's episode of Stuck in the Catchfence. Yeah. Wayne's World. Stuck in the Catchfence.
Barney Irongarth.
Yeah, thank you for Smerald Doll Trip for that boogity. Don't want to get copyrighted. So yeah, welcome into the weekly show. We're glad you're here. It's an off week for NASCAR, not for us. It's not an off week for motorsports. Indeed. We got ARCA this week. We got Formula One. Joe, I don't know if you know this, but like Formula One is going to a racetrack that NASCAR is in contact with, possibly running a race up there themselves.
No.
Hey.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, they're going to possibly go to Quebec, eh?
That was terrible.
Yeah, I'm terrible. I don't care for people that ride horses
French?
And wear funny hats.
Aren't they
French?
Are. Yeah.
French Quebec, yes.
Yeah. So I don't know where the don't you know? I don't know.
We're American, so we shouldn't know that stuff. But I do know this, Joe. Canada is big enough to be in 6 different time zones. So the more you know. But let's get this show started with a quick question. As the off week comes for NASCAR, typically this is a good time that I like to play my NASCAR video games. And I play them anyway because video games are a big part of, my after 11 o'clock duties when everybody else has went to bed. Mm-hmm. And Joe, I wanted to know, what is your favorite NASCAR video game? Or if it's not NASCAR, what's your favorite auto racing video game?
Well, I think personally for me, I think my favorite NASCAR video game of all time, I don't think this comes as any big surprise, and maybe I'm letting you know my age, is NASCAR 98. I'm telling you what, them paintballs came back in 99 too. I didn't lose a race with paintballs.
No.
You couldn't do it. And if I did come close to losing a race or somebody wrecked me, I just turned around and wrecked everybody.
Yeah, hell with them.
Yeah. And I always remember that voice. You're getting close to being you're close to being black flagged. They're gonna park you.
Yeah.
Hell with them.
I'll meet you in the hall.
I got paintballs, you son of a bitch.
That's right.
Yeah.
The PlayStation 1 days, the Uno, the OG.
Yeah. I was Jeremy
NASCAR 98.
I was Jeremy Mayfield a lot.
Oh wow, that explains a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you weren't actually shooting
a hell of a drug.
You just thought you were shooting paintballs.
Right. Yeah. I actually the entire time I was just sitting still.
Yeah.
They did
Joe
let me
has
race
no
one.
Tires on the car.
Right.
He's facing the opposite way and going, "Come on!"
and I missed the drivers' meetings more times than not.
Oh well, I mean, yeah. You can't watch everybody do your pregame.
They eventually kicked me out of NASCAR because, cocaine's a hell of a drug.
Yeah. Just there's a time and place on the track, probably not that place.
Right.
So, guy got raided by the FBI actually. My favorite NASCAR video game includes, unfortunately, a developer that doesn't exist anymore, and it is NASCAR Racing 2003. I've downloaded umpteen different modifications on there. And I am now currently running a 1999 season with Kenny Irwin.
Nice.
In the number 28. Yeah, we do pretty good until our first pit stop. And the pit stop, my team, my pit crew,
they suck.
Every mother effing time, Joe. You pulled up too far.
Yeah.
I pulled up to the sign.
Yeah. Well, the sign was too far.
As far as I'm pulling up to.
Yeah.
I didn't know there needed to be a buffer. So, yeah, but no, that's a great game. Still holds true to this day, has upgraded graphics and textures, and actually a lot of those people that left Papyrus or Papyrus, if you want to say it that way, moved themselves to make what today is known as iRacing, those engineers. So I'm too poor to play iRacing. I'm not going to give you $15 for a track and then pay a monthly subscription and then try to prove my worth to the degenerates that are online. So I just play, as Joe would know, by myself with myself.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's normally how I played, was with myself. But as I got older, that became quite boring. And I got into group play more and more as I got older. And then a lot of viruses started coming out, and I had to get away from that.
Just in case, just want to make sure it's within arm's reach. That's it. So, this part of the show sponsored by Jergens. Anyway, moving on, Joe, we have a new graphic.
Yeah.
Before we get into the news.
Oh, yeah.
And I must warn you, it's in its infancy, and it's slightly loud.
Yeah,
so if you have headphones on,
bring us into the damn news here.
It will bring you into the news at an audible level you may not be prepared for. So let's go ahead and jump into NASCAR news.
I enjoy this.
Yeah, when NASCAR had 5 lug nuts. That's when NASCAR was better, is when it had 5 lug nuts.
Yeah.
But Joe,
I don't know what to say to that.
Yeah, well, you're doing a great job saying, you're the best yes man in the business.
I am the best yes man on the radio. Yeah. Yep.
So the first topic that we have, this is pretty slow news week because it's an off week, but I don't know if you knew the AI's taken over. Before too long, Terminator's going to be an actual thing. iRobot, we've all watched it. It's going to happen. So I wanted to share with you, and the rest of our fans. NASCAR on Fox asked ChatGPT the most 10 iconic paint schemes of all time. And my question to you, Joe, is do you agree with them? So let's go ahead and pull them up as I get ready to do that right now.
I can't see nothing.
Can you see that, Joe?
I see.
Can you see my? Can't see.
Now
nothing?
I see that.
Can you see it?
No, I see. See it.
Now you see it. Okay.
Yeah.
So
is that Dylan Mulvaney?
Jesus. We've said a lot of things to get canceled. Let's make sure we don't have him on the actual. Start with number 10. So you already saw number 1. Go back to that. This is number 10. How big on the screen can we see? Are we good enough to?
Yeah, I could see it. Looks like looks like a Jimmy Johnson car there.
It's a JJ car. That is ranked number 10. So this is what, according to ChatGPT, aka the future, this is the 10 best scheme of all time. Does this scheme hold any special memory for you? Or do you have anything that you would like GPT?
I think really anything that involves Jimmy Johnson and the Lowe's car. I don't think that those are the best paint schemes of all time. They're definitely memorable. You remember them because Jimmy Johnson won 7 championships driving that car. But really, that's a pretty boring paint scheme to me. I'm going to go ahead and say the AI is wrong. But I'm going to be biased against AIs because, as you know, me and you both dabbled in sports writing for a bit. Very time-consuming, especially when you work in a separate job. But both of us did that and were I believe pretty good at it and still dabble in it a little bit. But AIs they're taking over. They're putting sports writers out of business.
Yeah, with very poor English.
Yeah, even though they're wrong.
So I don't know. How do I put this? I understand Jimmy Johnson being in it. I feel like the Lowe's car is an iconic car. A lot of people remember that. I just don't remember this paint scheme in particular. I feel like the Lowe's was more often than not in yellow, and I remember it that way.
I need some I need a baseline for these. Maybe you can explain this. These paint schemes, are these paint schemes that were the primary paint scheme through a season, or are we talking like a one race paint scheme?
Let's see what it says. As one can't see a driver's face during a race, the paint on any racer's car essentially becomes the easiest way to identify them on track. Yada, yada, yada. With this in mind, the folks at NASCAR and Fox asked the AI tool ChatGPT to name the 10 most iconic paint schemes in Cup Series history. So these could have been one-offs. And this is saying out of all the paint schemes ever run, Joe, this is the 10th most iconic scheme that's ever graced the asphalt in NASCAR.
Disagree.
All right. I feel the same way. I disagree as well. That is not a memorable paint scheme, even though the 48 and the lows are something that we remember. Moving on. Now, I have to agree with this one. I might put this one a little higher. This says Dale Jarrett's Interstate Batteries car is at the top, which when you see him in the 18, that kind of throws you off a little bit for a loop too. But we all know this is the Kyle Petty Mellow Yellow.
I thought this was Cold Trickle.
And what most people, and you took the words out of my mouth. What a lot of people believe too was the stolen paint scheme for Cold Trickle in Days of Thunder. I would say that this is most certainly, Joe, a memorable paint scheme, but I feel like 9 is too low.
Yeah.
I would have this in my top 5.
I don't know. Let's see what's in the top 5 before I'm willing to make that conclusion. Draw that conclusion, if you will. But yeah, there's definitely one of the most iconic paint schemes in NASCAR. Not only because Mellow Yellow was a cool thing back in the late 80s and early 90s, still is. I prefer Mellow Yellow, not Mountain Dew, because I'm not a terrorist. But
wow.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah. How about that?
Okay.
Anyway.
I didn't know we were going for blood on an off week, but
only
here we
cool
are.
people drink Mellow Yellow. I will tell you that. But yeah, Surge was great, man. Whatever happened to Surge? I think it was killing people.
People died, actually. It did.
Yeah, I would have to say this is definitely a top 10 paint scheme, if not a top 5. We'll see what's in the top 5. I'm not really willing to make that assumption yet.
Okay, and we'll do that. You memory bank some of these, Joe, and then go, hey, wait a second. This deserves to be higher or lower.
I'm very good at
should be taking
stuff
notes.
up in my bank. Yeah, I know. I got it all up here. You should see the size of this bank.
Yeah, sure. Here's another one. This is the Rusty Wallace Miller Genuine Draft. Again, another car that I think deserves to be on this list as something that a lot of people remember. I don't know how memorable it is. I think it's a great paint scheme, and but I don't have any reservations for it being on this list.
Yeah, I'm going to go with.
What say you?
Yeah, no, I agree. I think that this is definitely an iconic scheme. I don't necessarily think it should be in the top 10 here. It's kind of reminiscent of the Lowe's car, not the paint scheme, but kind of the idea behind it. So that's fail number 2. So out of the
a lot more for the Blue Deuce than they do the Miller Genuine Draft Deuce, I would guess.
Yeah, this is another fail by the AI. So
take that, computer. Okay. Now this is a car that a lot of people most certainly would have on their lists. The Budweiser number 8 for Dale Jr. I'm actually surprised that this is only at 7. Joe?
Man, I don't know. Is the 8 paint scheme more iconic than the 88 now? I mean, granted, he broke into NASCAR with the 8. I mean, yeah, it's definitely an iconic paint scheme. I guess the number really doesn't matter on the side of that thing. So,
I would say this, Joe. When I look at diecast collections of people, at least going through things,
I have that
there's
one.
more iterations of the 8 than there are the 88 that people
No, I agree. And sometimes the 88 is confused with another driver anyway. I would say this is definitely a top 10, possibly a top 5. We'll see what we have coming up here.
I think the next one, if I remember correctly, nope, it's not. Nice car. Was had a couple throwbacks to it. Bill Elliott's number 9 drove that for Melling Racing. There's a name drop for you.
That is not
so.
an
What do you
car.
say about number 6? Now I don't think so either. I actually remember the car having the gold on the side more than I even do the white.
Well, and I don't know what the premise for this AI and the algorithm that it used. Did it just say, hey, these colors pop? Because when you think about Bill Elliott, you do not think about the Coors car at all. I mean, obviously.
No, that's true.
You know, no kid of the late 80s or 90s, mid 90s, whatever, that followed NASCAR. When you talk about Bill Elliott, they did not think of Coors beer. They did not think of Coors. They thought of one thing: Happy Meals and take my ass to McDonald's.
That's exactly right. I agree with that 100%. Number 5. I say this doesn't belong on this list, Joe, because when I saw this car, it's the first time I think I've ever seen it in my entire life.
Yeah.
So, I've seen a lot of NASCAR cars. I've seen a lot of Bobby Allison cars. I could not ever tell you
what year.
I remembered this car vividly.
83, the 83 Cup Championship car. Is that what that says?
That's what it says.
Man, this was a little bit before my time of being a huge NASCAR fan. I can't say that I've ever seen this car either.
Granted, yes, but at the same time, we've had so many throwbacks. Do you ever remember anyone going, yeah, the 83 championship Bobby Allison Miller Lite or Miller High Light car? I don't even remember that.
I'm going to tell you right now, the junior car should be in place of this in the top 5. This shouldn't even be in the top 10. And my God, I'm going to throw the whole list out the window. I don't know what we're going to get to, but if we don't see a number 2 Wrangler car pop up here, I'm going to say this whole list is shit.
You will not see it, Joe.
Are you kidding me? I don't even need to see the rest of the list. I don't even need to see it.
Number 4, and this is, I think, a disservice too. The number 17 tied by Darrell Waltrip. I understand.
Who remembers Darrell Waltrip in the Tide car? That's Ricky Rudd.
I would have picked Darrell Waltrip in the Western Auto car. That is more memorable.
This AI is dumb.
I only did this just to get you to rage.
This is dumb.
When I read this, I was like, oh my God, Joe's going to have a heart attack when we do this. So I'm doing it.
This is dumb. All right, let's see the next one.
So there you go. Next. I think you agree with these last few. It's definitely a top 3 paint scheme. The Rainbow Warrior, Jeff Gordon. A lot of people remember this car, remember this paint scheme, have diecast of this car, have just everything you can imagine when it comes to this paint scheme, Joe. So I don't have a lot of disagreements here.
I don't either. I will say though, I'm iconic and good paint scheme are 2 totally different things to me. I never liked this paint scheme. I never did. I thought this was a stupid looking car. As a matter of fact, I'm glad when he went away from this. And you remember when he went to the flames on the hood? I like that car much better.
The flames,
than the Rainbow Warrior car. I never liked this car, but it's definitely an iconic car, I would say.
But if you're giving a nickname for your car, I mean that's an iconic car.
I understand that. This is an
Jeff
iconic
Gordon
car.
is known as the Rainbow.
I don't think that this is even a top 10 paint scheme. It's a top 5. It's a top 3 iconic paint scheme of NASCAR, but it's not. It's not a great looking car in my opinion. But that's my opinion. That's totally iconic car. Yes, that's a very famous car right there. I agree.
Okay. Now this would probably be in your top 3, if not your number 1. Now you wanted the Good Rent Service Plus, so are you okay with not having the Service Plus?
I am. I mean, that's essentially. I mean, the black on white, black on black. That's the Lumina right there. So that had to be early 90s, right? Yeah, 91. Okay. Yeah.
91.
Not a Monte Carlo. Yeah, I'm good with that. I mean, anytime you see good wrench number 3, black, black red trim around the 3, that's Dale Earnhardt, and that's they that all the cars essentially look the same in my opinion. A great looking car, but again, iconic car, very basic paint scheme.
Yeah, but it's black and white.
Yeah,
It's black, white, and trimmed in red, and I feel like you can't screw that up.
No, you can't.
I would argue this is the most iconic car in history.
Probably, unless you're going to pull up the number 42 winged Plymouth here in a minute.
Well, it's 43.
Well, what did I say? No. I say 42?
42.
43. Yeah.
No, this is what they put as number 1. And I would also say with Richard Petty, you would definitely go with exactly the thing you're thinking of.
Yeah.
The car that did not run for very long, not this Pontiac. But I think more people, when it comes to iconic, Joe, I would say, and maybe this is just me being a millennial, that more people would notice the number 3 who have never watched NASCAR versus this 43.
Yeah.
Am I wrong?
Yeah. No, you're not. But there's no the white Davy Allison car and all that. I mean, this is a dumb list. I can't even get into it. I mean, this is kind of terrible. As this only proves that AI has no business writing things to actual people. Well, I've already seen that. I mean, not to get into discussion about AI. I think the AI thing's very dangerous as it stands anyway. It's incredible what these things are doing, but at the end of the day, there's one huge thing that is hard to put in an algorithm with any AI. Is the fact that human, and I don't know the right words for this, but human ideals and what people like evolve, and you can never ever teach an AI the evolution of language. I don't think that you could ever teach an AI that, and the evolution of style and what iconic style is. I mean, to not have any paint schemes in the top 10 that predate 1983 is kind of a farce to me too. I mean, there was a whole lot of good looking cars going back to 1965, 69, all the way back to 1948. I mean, there are some iconic, first generation NASCARs out there that, that are not on the list. And I think that's kind of ridiculous, but definitely the paint schemes that it picked, those are just, most of them are just kind of out there.
And my favorite paint scheme that I think is an absolute travesty that it's not on there, I will share it real quick.
Yeah.
Is this beautiful Davy Allison 28. And the fact that that's not on there is an insult to humankind, mankind, NASCAR racing in general. And we should automatically just go ahead and get rid of the AI because of that right there.
Yeah. I thought that was a fake picture there for a minute. I had to squint my eyes. I thought that had Hoosier racing tires on it, but it didn't.
It's just a LA dirt car. I mean, it is what it is. I mean, whoever did that put a lot of time in to get probably 9th place in their modified race. But no, I think that was fun. I think one thing, Joe, that needs to be said too, the AI can't determine emotion. Right. And when it comes to iconic, it's the emotion you feel when you see that car. What childhood memory do you have? What victory lane celebration do you have? What maybe flipping through the infield memory do you have on that? And ChatGPT can't do that. So anything, Joe, I can think it goes through is how many times is this referenced in its database of memory, and then go from that standpoint.
Well, I think it definitely is. Just like, the Tide car, to me, a kid of the 90s, anytime I see Tide on a stock car, I automatically think Ricky Rudd. He owns that paint scheme throughout the rest of history for me. I know, that's a generational thing. Whenever I see McDonald's on a car, I think of Bill Elliott. I don't think of Bubba Wallace, obviously. So, and I know that's going to be a generational thing. However, once a driver drives, like the M&M's car, if M&M ever comes back to NASCAR and sponsors a car, that will forever be the Kyle Busch car. No matter what you do or whose car you put that on, that will always be the Kyle Busch car. If Goodwrench was to be a paint scheme on a car, that would be the Dale Sr. car. It doesn't matter. They own that sponsorship, that paint scheme. And to throw up paint schemes that somebody had for a race or two or in a championship race and say that is an iconic paint scheme, well, drivers have just as much to do with those paint schemes as the actual paint schemes, in my opinion.
Yeah.
And, at the end of the day, if it's not a paint scheme that is synonymous with that driver, that's a fail from the very start, in my opinion.
No, I agree 100%. I do want to give an honorable mention to a paint scheme. I feel like this probably could have been on there. Tell me what you think. What do you think about Harry Gant's The Skull Bandit?
I like Skull Bandits.
I just think that's a sharp looking car that definitely should have been. That's a memorable car, and even a Tim Richmond car, I think definitely could have been on there as well. But at the end of the day, Joe, the humans way better than the AI.
Oh yeah, in every way, unless you're trying to get them to write your term paper, then AI is pretty great.
Except maybe this human. You already clicked on the video to see us talk about, unfortunately, this man right here, as Bubba Wallace again has brought up an issue that was already dead. Nobody was talking about it. We've all moved on. And we have done the topic on it before. We've had videos on it. But for whatever reason, Bubba Wallace decided that he was going to go on SiriusXM and bring up an issue that, by all intents and purposes, everybody's already forgot about. So, Joe, I am going to play for you and the listener the actual audio, and we will go from there.
Let's hear it.
All right. Can you see that?
For me, I'd love this to. People think that I love to stay in the headlines for different reasons, and I actually hate it. It's funny how it all works out. How the fingers become such a big thing when Bubba Wallace does it. But you have guys that get wrecked and get dumped on the track, and they walk out on the track and shoot one bird or shoot the double bird, and we laugh about it and move on, and we tell them that they're number one. But when Bubba Wallace does it, we got to shut the whole state down, shut the whole series down, kick them out, suspend them. So on that side of things, it's complete BS. But it is what it is. It's been going on for years, and it sounds like I just invented something new. And we know how some of these people that are part of the sport hate when Bubba Wallace brings in something new. So,
do you have to be more careful now about doing it? Are you going to have to stop what other people are doing, or how?
100%. I need to stop doing it. It's not a good look, right? And we all get that. But what I'm getting at is it's been going on for years.
3.
Okay. So, the first thing I want to say, anyone that refers to themselves in third person,
3 times,
automatic asshole. 3 times. Automatic asshole. Number 2, he contradicts himself legitimately the entire interview. He says, anytime Bubba Wallace does something new, we have to go back and make it a big deal. Shut the state down is, I think, the verbiage that he used. Then he literally says drivers have been doing it forever. It's not a big deal. It's okay when other people do it. So did he do it first and it's not a big deal? Or has other people been doing it and he took their footsteps and it's not a big deal? That doesn't make any damn sense. Lastly, he says, I don't want to be in the headlines, so I'm going to give you headline material about shit nobody gives a shit about anymore, just again to make myself look like the victim, because that is all Bubba Wallace is a victim. In his own mind, nobody's talking about him. So here you go.
Yeah, well, first of all, nobody gave a shit when he did it. Nobody gave a shit. Nobody was saying suspend them, throw them out of NASCAR, except people that were,
that is completely
except
fabricated.
people that were trying to rouse up a story. I hate Bubba Wallace, and I didn't give a shit. Why in the hell does Bubba Wallace think anybody cares that he rubbed his nose with his middle finger when he walked by? I thought it was funny. Nobody gave a shit then.
Yeah.
You know, and for, like you said, 3 times he referred to himself in third person. And Joe Spillman thinks that is absolutely bullshit. And he's a douche for doing that. And he's an arrogant asshole.
That's almost a red flag.
Yeah, he's an arrogant asshole. He's obviously a narcissist. He doesn't take criticism, and he thinks everything's about him, and he thinks everybody's out to get him. So at the end of the day, the dude's just a freaking asshole. I'm done paying attention to him. He is what he is. I mean, he's going to be in NASCAR. You know, just shut your mouth and go drive. You know, you've already created the problem at this point, and it's none other than your attitude. And anything else you want to point to is the reason why people are saying this about you, I'm going to call bullshit again, because it has nothing to do with anything but the way you act and portray yourself to the public.
Well said. And I just want to say this. Number one, here on this show, we said that this was absolutely towards the fans. We said we heard the rumor or the whatever you could have said, it was to Ryan Blaney.
Which was bullshit.
And we immediately called bullshit. We immediately said that makes no sense. He never looked at him. He never, you know what I mean? Like, we understand when guys are, you know, sorry if you guys caught that. You know, Ryan Blaney and I have something going on. I could see the Twitter trolls blowing this up. Number two, if he would have came out and said he did it to the fans, that actually would have been funny.
Yeah.
It actually would have been funny. He's like, well, I booed them, so now I'm telling them they're all number one like they've been telling me all week. I actually respect that a little bit.
You probably would have picked up some fans doing that.
Right. And then, again, another thing where he tries to make it about himself is he says, when Bubba Wallace does this, other drivers come out and flip people off all the time.
When?
Now, he said other people, when a driver gets dumped, when a blah, 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 that's okay, blah, 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 that's okay, blah, blah. He's absolutely right. I literally, and I've said on this show, have used a profile picture of a guy wearing a Chase Elliott shirt, flipping off Kyle Busch that says, fuck Kyle Busch, for when Kyle Busch dumped him at Darlington. It was by accident, but Chase Elliott didn't know that. I thought it was an awesome moment. And I'm like, that's funny.
Yeah.
That's funny. If I had a shirt of Kyle Busch flipping somebody off or a moment of that, I absolutely would have a shirt of that. But here's the difference. This is in the heat of a race, a driver flipping off another driver. We don't care about that. If anything, it's awesome. Give him the bird. Hell, if you're Tony Stewart, throw a $400 fucking helmet at him. I don't care. It's cool.
You're gonna whoop his ass.
You did it to the people that make your paycheck. And we've already known it's all about the paycheck,
because
right?
he's making more money than anybody out there.
That's right. I'm still making money and they're not. So you did it for the people that sign your bills, essentially, by the number one viewer or the number one thing of that runs your sport, us, the viewer. Nobody else has been flipping off the public. I'm a Kyle Busch fan. Kyle Busch has been booed all the way up until this year. Kyle Busch has never been widely accepted when his name has been called. Can you think of any time Kyle Busch has turned around and flipped off fans?
No, I mean, not directly.
No. I can't think of one. Even if it was indirectly, I can't think of one time. The worst thing I've ever seen Kyle Busch do is the crybaby face after he won. It was hilarious. And he goes, if you don't like that type of racing, then don't even watch.
Pure talent.
And this is now where we're at again, where Bubba tries to relate two completely different things to wedge himself again. When Joe, what were we talking about 3 weeks ago? Before all this, when it came to Bubba Wallace,
I don't recall.
4 top 5s.
Oh,
we were talking about Bubba Wallace actually driving good on the track.
Yeah, his driving performance has not been bad, and we did make that a point to talk about that because we'll give credit where credit's due. But at the end of the day, his attitude is still terrible.
And that's why people can't stand him, Joe. I mean, he's literally everything that's built him up is based on a foundation of sand. And again, we're talking about him, but at the end of the day, it feels like because you're going to get called an ist, whatever it may be, insert ist at the end of it. It's these simple things where you're like, okay, nobody's talking about Bubba Wallace. And Bubba goes, I'll fix that. I'll fix that. I don't want to be in the headline. I don't want the credit. I don't want people to talk about me. I don't want any of this.
Bubba Wallace.
I'm treated differently. I'm Bubba Wallace.
Bubba Wallace doesn't want any of this. But as Bubba Wallace sits here right now, Bubba Wallace is going to tell you that Bubba Wallace is treated different. But Bubba Wallace don't want to be in the news. I don't want to be in the headlines. Bubba Wallace does not want to be in the headlines. And if you talk shit about me, you're racist.
Yeah.
I mean, and that's the problem. It has nothing to do with any of that, but that's what's going to be said. That's what somebody would say about me right now for making this point. That's
what he's inferring.
It's furthest from the truth. It's furthest from the truth. I don't like Bubba Wallace because Bubba Wallace is an asshole. It doesn't have anything to do with anything else. I don't like Bubba Wallace because of that interview and the 100 other interviews he's given before, claiming that he's a victim and claiming that somehow he is treated differently in NASCAR. And I don't give a shit what Denny Hamlin or Dale Earnhardt Jr. says or anybody else says. Bubba Wallace was loved in NASCAR until Bubba Wallace did the wrong thing. And he played victim for no reason when he knew it was the wrong thing to do. And then he has compiled his douchebaggery since then. That's why I don't like Bubba Wallace.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. He has certainly had multiple chances to wash his hands. He's had an opportunity to do it based upon his on-track performance and has yet to do so. Again, when we've had the opportunity to go, Bubba Wallace has done good in racing. We've seen him clearly improve. He's climbed up in the standings. He again makes it not about racing. Mm-hmm. He makes it about an incident off the track. And I even had a little bit of thought process when you made that short and at the end called him an a-hole. I'm like, I don't know if we need to put that because not everybody feels that way. Now I don't care.
He's an asshole.
He's an asshole. He just is an absolute asshole. And that's how I think of him moving forward. I will probably drink a Bud Light before I ever change my mind about Bubba Wallace moving forward, because it's like, how many times in the back of my mind, Joe, do I have to go, I need to give him some credit.
Well,
maybe I'm too hard. And then this type of shit out of freaking nowhere comes out. And I'm like, no, I'm done. He's a douchebag. I'm out.
And really, you could look, because NASCAR is a really, it used to be, and it still is, a fan-driven sport. And you could really look at drivers, no matter what they're on the track persona is. If you follow NASCAR, you follow it long enough to see what the drivers off the track persona is. And the best way you could do that is, one, by the interaction you see with their families, and two, the interactions that you see with fans. Like right now, it's clear and evident Denny Hamlin is an asshole. Have you ever seen Denny Hamlin interact with fans in any way? No, because the arrogant asshole thinks that he's better than people because he drives a race car. Instead of be a hump.
I do like his show, though.
Yeah, his show's not bad. But he's an arrogant asshole because he thinks he's better than every other human being because he could drive. He's been given the opportunity to drive a race car fast. However, even people that used to hate Kyle Busch always knew off to the side that Kyle Busch was a pretty decent guy, because it's been no secret that Kyle Busch is pretty down to earth and is willing to talk to anybody, whether you're a driver, not a driver, a fan, or it's your first race at any sport, and you happen to bump into Kyle Busch, he'll give you the time of day. He's not an asshole. Mm-hmm. He's not a bad person. Bubba Wallace, have you ever heard of Bubba Wallace interacting with fans? No, you haven't, because he doesn't do it at all. And everything that comes out of his mouth directs you to the fact that he is a douchebag asshole. And I guarantee you, if you happened to catch him talking to fans, it probably would be, hey, get out of my face. Because he's another one that has been handed a position in a sport that he's not qualified for. He's not. He should not be a Cup driver. He's not. He's not Cup driver material. I don't care if he had a couple top fives. I mean, you put JJ Yaley in the right equipment, he could probably get a couple top tens and a couple top fives at the end of the day. But Bubba Wallace is a grade A asshole, and he will always be a grade A asshole. And there's no change in my mind at this point. And the fact is, when Bubba Wallace won at Eldora and was making a name for himself, I wanted to be a Bubba Wallace fan. I was going to root for this guy until year after year or week after week, year after year, it became very evident that the dude is a grade A asshole.
Yeah. He's a Kyle Busch Motorsports guy. I mean, definitely somebody. I follow KBM drivers, and I had no reason not to like him. And you, the listener, challenged us multiple times on our shorts. Maybe not the people that are subscribed, or the people that watched our videos, and said that no, he said this was at Ryan Blaney.
Yeah, bullshit.
You get the benefit of the doubt now. If this was at Ryan Blaney, then it's a joke and we move on. You don't then get to cry wolf or cry victim because of a joke.
Mm-hmm.
You didn't like the way the joke turned out because, number one, nobody asked for him to be suspended.
That's completely
that came out.
Nobody cared.
Out of effing nowhere.
Nobody cared.
No. The only reason why we did it is because it was just something. We had to talk about some on North Wilkesboro. For God's sakes, it was terrible.
Yeah.
So we talked about that. We said it is what it is. It's not a big deal. Probably would have gained some more respect out of him. He's like, yeah, they booed me. I flipped them off. Now we're even. But, hell, okay. I feel you. Flip them off next time. When they announced Bubba Wallace, driver of the number 2311 Toyota, and he goes like this to the fans, that's actually pretty damn funny. I wouldn't mind. That would be like some WWE stuff.
Right.
He's the heel, but that's not what we got. We got a guy that goes, Ryan Blaney, inside joke. Oh, come on. Don't misconstrue things.
Don't be racist.
Don't calm down. Let's not. Don't put me in this spot that I don't deserve to be in. And by the way, why are nobody talking to me like everybody else when everybody else flips people off? Well, I thought you did it as a joke. Oh no. I don't want to be in the news, but I'm going to give you something to talk about. I don't understand why I'm being treated differently, and I'm the first person to ever do this, even though other drivers do this all the time, because of my own words. Please like me.
And if you don't like me, then you're racist.
Please?
No,
Please?
Because if you don't, you're racist.
Please. Don't you like McDonald's?
I do.
Michael Jordan's
I like Michael Jordan too.
Tyler Rex, my teammate, he's a short.
Yeah, I like him too.
Please like me.
You're an asshole.
No, and you're not wrong. And I hope this is the last time we have to hear about this shit because it does get annoying. It does get old. Granted, it makes videos, but at the end of the day, we want to talk about racing. We want to talk about drivers. I'd rather talk about when Eric Almirola and him almost fought. That'd been cool. But we knew that wasn't going to happen because unless, Bubba's throwing a punch at somebody after he right hooked, he's probably not going to fight somebody.
Right. Well, that person also has to be 1.5 feet shorter than him.
That is being polite. 1.5 feet might be extending it nicely for Kyle Larson. So, Joe, I will be heading off to the Sunshine State. So we'll be possibly putting something out next week. If anything, it'll probably be later in the week. So if you see our material run a little bit later, it's because I will be coming back on Thursday.
Yeah, me too.
So
okay. I'm going to I'm going to Florida next week.
Okay. Well, enjoy your time there, wherever you are going.
I'm going to Panama City.
Okay.
No, I am.
Well,
yeah, it'll be fun.
Okay. Enjoy it.
No.
I'll look for it.
Are you going to be there, Panama City?
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
Is it a church thing?
Oh. No.
Oh.
It's family.
I'm going to this church thing.
Enjoy.
Yeah, thanks.
I went to Panama City for a church.
Yeah, real exciting.
Yeah, I would be excited. So again, and then we'll bring up remember Willow Spicywood? I think he actually beat us. So we'll bring that up going back into our lineups if you would like to do that. Again, make sure that if you've made it to this point, might as well like and subscribe to the channel. Don't be an asshole. Don't be a Bubba Wallace. If you don't subscribe, you like Bubba Wallace.
That's it too.
Yeah. So it helps us out, helps you out, getting some great NASCAR content, some more information, because you won't hear this from boring NASCAR people actually speaking the truth.
Yeah, that doesn't happen.
So we got some shorts that'll be coming out. I got a Dale Earnhardt one that I would like to put out here very shortly. So make sure you keep your eye out on that. And Joe, you have anything else?
No, great show, Ryan.
Well, at the end of the day, it's all checkered flag from here. Thanks for tuning in to Stuck in the Catch Fence. We'll see you next time.